All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to talk about another team in the Buffalo Bills who they didn't punt until the fourth quarter, but that was basically when the game was out of reach. So, yeah, two teams, well, really three teams that just, there was only one punt between the three. Um, and we'll get into that right now. So, last night, going into this game, didn't feel great about taking the Jags. Um, for some reason, I like to take AFC South teams against the Bills on Monday night because the Titans, they played them um, a couple years ago and they got absolutely destroyed on Monday night. But for some reason, I didn't learn my lesson. And I said, you know what, the Jags, they're 0-2 right now. You know, they really need to come out and put up a good fight because, you know, you don't want to go 0-3 and, you know, throw that out the window because that didn't happen. From start to finish, the Bills just absolutely dominated this game. Did not surprise me at all. But, you know, and you could say, well, the Bills are just that good, and the Jaguars just, you know, they're not a team that's ready to compete with some of these better teams in the AFC, which is definitely true. I mean, even look at last week. They went up against the Browns, a team that just, you know, they have their issues as well at quarterback, particularly. The final score of that game was 18-13. Now they go up against the Bills. Josh Allen is rolling, and they just continue to roll all over the Jaguars. It was never a game, like I said, from start to finish. This game just got out of hand very quickly. So let's go through it. So yeah, the Bills, they went 10 plays, 70 yards down the field, 5.5 minutes of time possession, and James Cook from 6 yards out scored a touchdown. Tyler Bass missed the extra point. Didn't matter. The Jaguars punted. They went 3-and-out very quickly. Drive didn't even last a minute. Bills, again, go down the field. Josh Allen connected with Dalton Kincaid to make it 13-0. Jaguars did kick a field goal. They put together a nice drive, you know, a little, almost 8 minutes of time possession. And Little from 41 yards out kicked the field goal to make it 13-3. Bills turned that into a touchdown to make it 20-3. Josh Allen connected with Keon Coleman for a touchdown to make it 20-3. An interception by Trevor Lawrence. It was an overthrow off the fingertips of Brian Thomas Jr. and it was picked off by Damar Hamlin. The Bills turned that into a touchdown. Josh Allen connected with Khalil Shakir to make it 27-3. And then they got another touchdown to make it 34-3 at the half. Josh Allen connected with Ty Johnson for a 16-yard touchdown. And, I said the Bills would have 30 points. They had 34 points in the first half. The Jaguars did open up the second half with a touchdown drive to make it 34-10. Trevor Lawrence connected with Brenton Strange from 6 yards out. The Bills, on their first drive of the second half, got some points with a field goal. Tyler Bass from 27 yards out to make it 37-10. Jags turned it over on downs. The Bills punted for the first time in the fourth quarter, but we're not really going to count that. Jags turned it over on downs. Another field goal drive for the Bills. Tyler Bass from 43 yards out. The Jags then fumbled. Mac Jones actually came into the game, and he was sacked and lost the ball. And the Bills turned that into a touchdown as well. Ray Davis, he scored. And that was the final score. Trevor Lawrence went 21-38 for 178 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Mac Jones went 5 for 8 for 22 yards. Travis Etienne only 68 yards on the ground. Christian Kirk was their leading receiver, so they got him more involved, at least if you want to take a positive from this game. I guess they got Christian Kirk more involved. He was targeted 10 times. Then Brian Thomas Jr. had 5 receptions for 48 yards. Gabe Davis, 2 for 18. Parker Washington, 2 for 18. Brenton Strange had 2 for 12 and a touchdown. No sacks in this game for that Jaguars defense. And as for the Bills, I mean, Josh Allen, right now he's got 7 touchdowns and no interceptions on the season. Right now he's the front runner for MVP. He went 23 of 30, 263 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. James Cook had 11 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown. Josh Allen ran the ball for 44 yards as well. Ray Davis had 22 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Their leading receiver was Khalil Shakir, who's been a nice player for them so far this year. Once again, 6 receptions for 72 yards and a touchdown. Dalton Kincaid had a touchdown. Ty Johnson had a touchdown. Keon Coleman, his only reception was for a touchdown. The Bills' defense had 5 sacks in this game. Yeah, it wasn't much of a game. It was really the polar opposite of the Bengals-Commanders game. And again, it's one of those things where, I mean, I don't think the Bills, they're not going to put up 47. They're not going to put up 47 points a game. But the Bills are very good. The Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL right now. There's no question about that. They're 3-0 on the season. Next week they got a game against the Ravens, which is going to be very tough. That's in Baltimore on Sunday Night Football. But they are one of the best teams in the NFL. They're playing like it. And Josh Allen is playing like it too. He's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And like I said, front runner for MVP at this very moment, even though it's only, we're only going into week 4. But still, 7 touchdowns to no picks. He has fumbled, right? I think he fumbled in the week 1 game. But either way, he's been playing very well. And then as for the Jaguars, yeah, this season is going to unravel. This is going to be a long season. I mean, there's a possibility that maybe they could turn it around and do like a reverse of last year, where they started off good, but then they finished, they ended up collapsing. Maybe it's the opposite this year, but there's really no indication of that happening. I mean, they should have won in week 1. You were up by multiple scores against the Dolphins. You had that game, and they blew it. Last week, sloppy game against the Browns, and then this week, I mean, it just, that was tough to watch. That really was. And Trevor Lawrence, again, did not play well. And, you could say it's more than just him. It's the play calling and things like that, but, he's part of the problem too. That interception, that's on him. You overthrew your receiver and it gets picked off. So they got a lot of issues, and it doesn't get any easier for them because then they take on the Texans, who just got embarrassed by the Vikings. So the Texans are going to want to, come out and play much better than they did this past week. And the Jaguars, I mean, there's really no indication of them getting out of this. There really isn't. So, you know what? I tried to get cute last night and said, you know what? I know it's against the Bills, but maybe they play a competitive game here. They did not. And I'm kind of just done giving them chances, at least in the spread pool. So next week, I don't care what the line is, I'm already taking the Texans. And you know what's going to happen? The Jaguars are going to keep it close, and maybe they'll win somehow. But there's really no indication of them getting out of this. I mean, even the defense, you looked at their defensive line going into the year. I mean, they added Eric Armstead to it. You paid Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen, even though he doesn't like to be called that, and Trayvon Walker. Where's the pressure? Where's that defensive line? Non-existent. No sacks. What's going on? And the penalties also. The penalties were bad too. Right now, they're an undisciplined football team, and they just can't get out of their own way right now. And we're on our way to seeing massive changes if this season continues in this downward spiral. Doug Peterson, Trent Baalke, I mean, those guys are probably gone. And they just paid Trevor Lawrence all that money. He is not playing like that quarterback at all. And to be honest, I said, you know what, Trevor Lawrence does deserve to get paid. I said that before the season. But at the price that they paid him, he does not deserve it. I'm sorry. Because he just has not played like a $55 million quarterback. He hasn't. And that continues. So, look, it's still a long season. But for me, this season I think is pretty much over for the Jags. Until they can start figuring things out on offense, and maybe the defense could wake up a little bit and get some pressure with the guys that they have on the line. This season is quickly on its way to being over. Because right now you're 0-3. And you're playing in the superior conference of the two, between the NFC and the AFC. I had the Jaguars missing the playoffs, anyways. And you know what? I was going back and forth on whether to give them 8 or 9 wins. And I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I gave them 9. Who knows if they even get to 6 the way they're playing. So, yeah, it was definitely a little bit of both. Like, the Bills, I think, are very good. The Jaguars right now are just a team that, they have one of the worst records in football right now at 0-3. It's them, the Bengals, and the Titans, another team in their division. Maybe they could beat the Titans. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see when that game comes around between those two teams. Well, the Bengals, they're 0-3, but they don't deserve to be 0-3. Like, Joe Burrow is starting to play better. But they're 0-3. And you are what your record says you are. So, yeah, the Jags, they got a lot of problems right now. The Bills, I mean, they are riding high. They are playing really well. And with the Dolphins and their issues and the Patriots, it's really going to be between the Bills and the Jets for the division right now. Which I had the Bills finishing in second. I had the Jets finishing in first. So it's going to be very competitive, and they play each other week 6. The Bills, they got some tough games coming up. Like I said, they got the Ravens coming up. They got the Jets in week 6, and then who do they play in between that? Oh, they play the Texans in between that. Wow, in Houston. So those are 3 tough games. I think there's definitely a loss in between that, but it's hard to say because Josh Allen is rolling right now. And, yeah, no, they look really good. They look really good. They could beat you in so many different ways. I mean, now you got James Cook, who's running the football well. I mean, he's done that since he's, been in the league. And Josh Allen looks like an MVP candidate right now. He looks like the front runner. And the defense is doing its job. And that was something a lot of people talked about. They lost a lot of pieces. Matt Milano gets hurt before the year starts. But, yeah, it's the Bills look really good right now. They're one of the top teams in the NFL. So, yeah, 47-10. Jags. Next game is against the Texans. So, let's see if they could maybe bounce back there. But I'm not counting on it the way they're playing. So, with that, before we go to break, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the $ icon in the chat. This will help create a super chat for any thought or comment that you may have throughout the live broadcast. I will acknowledge that thought or comment. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we give you guys content each and every day. And also the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. So, when we come back from our second break, we'll get into talking about the Eagles-Saints game and the Eagles picking up a huge win over the Saints in New Orleans. We'll get into that when we return from our next break. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.